The senator from New Hampshire.
Mr. President, I rise today in recognition of National Police Week to honor and thank the men and women in uniform, law enforcement officers in the state of New Hampshire who do a phenomenal job every single day keeping us safe. I was honored when I worked as Attorney General to work directly with our law enforcement officers at every level in our state. And Mr. President, we have the very finest law enforcement officers in the state of New Hampshire. And during this week, I want to thank them for every single thing that they do and the difficult circumstances they face every day in making sure that our communities are safe in the state of New Hampshire. And tragically, last week, we had an example of the dangers that our police officers face every single day when we had two Manchester police officers who were shot in the line of duty early Friday morning. Early Friday morning, Officer Ryan Hardy encountered a situation on 2nd Street where he noticed a description of someone who had robbed a gas station the night before. Approaching this individual, Officer Hardy was shot multiple times at close range. This individual fled, and then this suspect fired into a group of police officers. And when he did that, he unfortunately also shot Officer Matthew O'Connor in the leg. Mr. President, both of these police officers acted with great heroism, with tenacity, with courage in the work that they do every single day on the streets of Manchester. And all of the police officers that responded that day did a phenomenal job. But that is an example of what our police officers are facing on a daily basis. They don't know whether the next stop they make of someone is going to go bad. And unfortunately, on early Friday morning, it did go bad. And we are so grateful for their service, for the service of Officer Hardy and the service of Officer O'Connor. And we are grateful and blessed that despite significant injuries, they are doing okay and that they did not get killed in the line of duty. And so I just want to say to them, I want to say to the Manchester Police Department, I want to say to their wives, Amanda and Elise, because families serve too. We worry not only about our police officers, but I know from having served as Attorney General of New Hampshire that every time we're home on Thanksgiving, or we're home on Christmas, or we're home on some other holiday or great occasion, guess what our police officers are out doing? They're out patrolling our streets and our highways, keeping us safe, making sure that we can enjoy that moment with our families. But their families worry. They worry when they're out that, is my loved one going to come home? So I say to the families of our law enforcement officers, as we stand here in National Police Week, thank you. Thank you for what you do in allowing your loved ones to serve and supporting our law enforcement officers, because families serve too. And we are grateful for what Officer Hardy and Officer O'Connor did on that early Friday morning, and all who responded to that call. And we're grateful that they're doing well in their recovery, and we wish them the very best. They continue to be in my prayers and my family's prayers for a speedy recovery, but all the police officers in our state are in my prayers. When I was Attorney General, two of the most difficult moments that I had was giving a eulogy at the funerals of two police officers that were killed in the line of duty during my time as Attorney General. One of them, Officer Bruce McKay, had served the Franconia Police Department for 12 years, and he was brutally murdered in 2007 during a traffic stop. The other police officer, Officer Michael Briggs, in fact, on Sunday, I'm going to be going to the dedication of a community center in Manchester in honor of Officer Michael Briggs. And it's hard to believe that it's been 10 years since he was killed in the line of duty, but it shows you the fact that they are having a community center in his honor there in the center of Manchester, where he helped so many young people and so many people in how he served the people of Manchester. Really is a testament to the kind of person that he was. And I got to know the family of Officer Michael Briggs very closely. His parents, Lee and Marianne, and his wife, Laura, and his sons, Brian and Mitchell. And I want them to know today, I know that it's been almost 10 years, but I will never forget, and we will never forget their sacrifice, and certainly what Officer Michael Briggs did for the state of New Hampshire, his heroism. And in fact, not only before he served as a Manchester police officer, but as I think about the coming toward the 10th anniversary of his death, before he served as a police officer, he served as a Marine, serving our country in the line of duty. I served as a corrections officer also and did an incredible job. In fact, he received awards for saving lives, saving people's lives, running into burning buildings to save people in the line of duty. And I will never forget he saved the life of the individual that murdered him. He had saved his life before, unfortunately, he was murdered by a career criminal in the line of duty. And that really, as you think about the heroism of our police officers, the service and sacrifice that they make and their families, that really, unfortunately, says it all right there. So today, as I stand on the Senate floor, I think about my time as Attorney General. I certainly think about the families of the police officers that have been killed in the line of duty in New Hampshire, and the sacrifices that every single day our men and women in uniform make on our behalf. I know that in New Hampshire, soon on Friday, there will be a law enforcement memorial ceremony. It's a ceremony that I plan to be at, but it's also a ceremony where each year we read the names that are etched into the memorial there of those law enforcement officers that have been killed in the line of duty in New Hampshire. And there have been far too many who have made the ultimate sacrifice so that the rest of us could live our lives in safety and in happiness. And one of the privileges that I had as Attorney General was to read the names of our law enforcement officers that were killed in the line of duty, to recognize their service and their sacrifice, with often many of their family members there, family members who would offer a flower in a beautiful wreath to recognize the sacrifice of their family, so that we could remember their family member, their law enforcement officers that were killed in the line of duty. And so today on the Senate floor, I would like to read the names of these police officers that were killed in the line of duty in New Hampshire. And to say that I know we'll recognize them in New Hampshire on Friday, but I want to recognize them here on the Senate floor. And those are Deputy Sheriff John Walker Sr., Officer George Prey of Dover, from Laconia, Police Officer Charles Doloff, from Stratford County, Deputy Sheriff Charles E. Smith, from Manchester, Sergeant Henry McAllister, from Manchester, Inspector William Moore, from Exeter, Officer Albert Colson, from Nashua, Patrolman James Roche, from Carroll County, Sheriff Harry M. Levitt, from the New Hampshire State Police, Raymond Elliott, from Lancaster, Chief Andrew Malloy, New Hampshire State Police Trooper Harold B. Johnson, from Colebrook, Chief Fred Toll, from Nashua, Patrolman Mike Latvis, from the New Hampshire State Police, Lieutenant Ivan Hayes, from Northumberland, Officer Joseph Platt, From Nashua, Patrolman Edward Graziano. From the New Hampshire Fish and Game, Conservation Officer William Mooney. From New Hampshire Fish and Game, Conservation Officer Gary Waterhouse. From Farmington, Assistant Chief Louis Sheets. From Berlin, Officer Robert Devoid. From Berlin, Officer Dorman Wheelock. From Gorham, Officer Jerome Pyatt. From Rockingham County Department of Corrections Officer Robert Charles Prescott. From the New Hampshire Fish and Game, Conservation Officer James Clark. From Nashua, Acting Chief Armin Russo. From Seabrook, Chief Charles Knowles. From Durham, Lieutenant Robert Hollis. From Berlin, Sergeant Paul Broder. From Manchester, Officer Ralph Miller. From the New Hampshire State Police, Trooper Richard Champy. From Somersworth, Patrolman Donald Kowalski. From Jaffrey, Police Supervisor William E. O'Neill Sr. From Hanover, Chief James Collins. From Derry, Sergeant Thomas Kelly. From the New Hampshire State Police, Trooper Gary Parker. From the New Hampshire State Police, Trooper Joseph Edward Gertie. From Antrim, Chief of Police Ralph Brooks. From the New Hampshire State Police, Sergeant James Stanwood Noyes. From East Kingston, Officer Melvin Allen Keddy. From Auburn, New Hampshire, Lieutenant Donald Eaton. From the New Hampshire State Police, Trooper Leslie George Lord. From the New Hampshire State Police, Trooper Scott Phillips. From Epsom, Patrolman Jeremy Sharon. From Manchester, Officer Michael Briggs. From Franconia, Corporal Bruce McKay. From Greenland, Chief of Police Michael Maloney. And from Brentwood, Patrolman Stephen Arkell. One thing, as I read those names, it obviously strikes me shocking how many names are on that wall in our state. And having met and worked with so many of our law enforcement officers, they're incredibly brave. The sacrifices of their families are tremendous. Most recently, I went to 2 community events to recognize and really memorialize, and also the Maloney family and the Arkell family. They have started foundations to help other police families, to help have scholarships in the names of these 2 decorated officers. And unfortunately, those are the 2 most recent additions to this wall. I mean, Chief Michael Maloney embodied the values of service, integrity, and honor. And his leadership in the Greenland Police Department will never be forgotten. He was admired by everyone in the community. And this is another example of the sacrifice that our police officers make. He was only a few days before his retirement. He could have stayed in the station, but he went out. He went out to the call with his fellow officers. And when the situation escalated, Chief Maloney did what he always did. He put his life before his fellow officers. And because of his sacrifices that day, other lives were saved. But unfortunately, we lost Chief Maloney in the line of duty just days before his retirement. If that's not a hero, I don't know what is, and who is. But when I think about his family and having gotten to know his family, I know today, as we think about the importance of this week, I just want to say thank you to them and just let them know that they continue to be in our prayers, and we will not forget Chief Maloney's service and his sacrifice and his heroism. Likewise, just like Chief Maloney, Officer Steve Arkell was taken from us far too soon. He was an unsung hero. He went about his extraordinary work as a police officer very quietly and humbly, going above and beyond the call of duty, not only as a police officer, but as a coach in his community, as someone who has helped so many other people and made a difference in people's lives. And during his 15-year career as a police officer, he really made a difference for the people of Brentwood. He made us proud, and he was another true hero in his community. And today, during Police Week, I want to say to his family, who recently had a 5K in his honor, to provide scholarships for others in the Brentwood community. I just want to say to them, thank you for your sacrifice. And we will never forget the sacrifice of Officer Stephen Arkell. During Police Week, as I stand here on the Senate floor, one of the things that has really bothered me is that too often, the rhetoric that we have been hearing about our police and our law enforcement officers out in the public discussion has been negative. It has been negative. It has been sweeping. It has been basically stereotyping our police, and it has been wrong. So today, I just want to say, in this important week, I want to say to our law enforcement officers in New Hampshire, I want to say to the law enforcement officers across this country that keep us safe, thank you. We stand with you. We are proud of you. We have your back because we know that you have our backs every single day, because we would not be a free and safe society but for the sacrifices that our law enforcement officers make every single day in New Hampshire, in every state in this country. They are the thin blue line between us and those that want to do us harm and threaten our way of life. And so when we hear people who are making sweeping generalizations about our police that are negative, I want the people of this country to think about what it would be like if we didn't have the courageous law enforcement officers who patrol our streets every single day, who go out on nights and weekends and holidays when we're safely home sleeping, who are out making sure that we are safe. And we should stand up for our law enforcement officers. And this week, of all weeks, as we are here for National Police Week, we need to honor our law enforcement officers, thank our men and women in uniform who patrol our streets and our highways and in every way protect us, whether as corrections officers, whether in our fish and game officers, whether our state police, at every single level in the state of New Hampshire. We say thank you, we stand with you, and I thank you, Mr. President, and I hope as we stand here this week that all of us will make sure that we thank also the Capitol Police for the incredible work that they do here, keeping us safe and defending this Capitol. Thank you, Mr. President.